Hi, Tilly Carlson here. Been a long time since I actually covered any music-related stuff on my channel because it's mostly been movie unboxings and the like, but today we're looking at one of my favorite bands to come out of England, UFO. UFO is widely known for their classic period with guitarist Michael Schenker, but there have been a lot of UFO albums and eras of the band without Schenker that are sadly often overlooked. Today we're looking at a new deluxe release of the first album that UFO released after Michael Schenker left the band in the late 70s. Coming out in January of 1980, this is UFO No Place to Run, the first album from the band to feature former Lone Star guitarist Paul Chapman. I'm going to unbox this release and share my opinions. There's our classic cover art there. There have been a lot of variations on this over the years, like with different justification of the text and the color of the text. Here's the sides of the spines. Back cover has our track list. Disc 1 is the original album plus 3 alternate version bonus tracks. And then disc 2 is a complete concert at the Marquee in London in 1980, remixed for 2025. A handful of those tracks were previously released on the earlier single disc remaster of No Place to Run. Under the slipcover, the front art is pretty much the same. There's the spine. Back cover with a track list and additional artwork. When you open the sleeve here, you have like some of the recording studio sheets there. Nice shot of the band from that era. We have our 2 discs here. Again, the album on disc 1 and the bonus concert on disc 2. Underneath there, you actually have the art for the Youngblood single. That looks very cool. More record company sheets over here. If you look at those record company sheets, the producer of this album was actually George Martin, best known for producing the Beatles back in the day. We do get an insert as well. On the back, it's a reproduction of the back of the original vinyl sleeve, and this actually folds open. On the back, there's a photograph here, and there's an essay by someone named Brian Kahoo. I don't know who he is, but this is pretty thorough and pretty interesting stuff. And on this side, you've got a reprint of a vintage tour poster from the era. I might have to get this framed and throw it up on my YouTube wall. And on this side of the insert here, you have a list of personnel that worked on the album. I love UFO, and while I won't deny nothing can top those classic albums with Michael Schenker, No Place to Run certainly comes pretty damn close. Michael Schenker left some big shoes to fill, but Paul Chapman, who'd actually been helping out the band a few times over the years prior to this, became the new full-time lead guitarist and proved right from the get-go that he was absolutely no slouch. Paul Chapman, who sadly we lost a few years ago, is an amazing musician, and he proved himself every bit worthy to fill the gap left by Michael Schenker's departure. This isn't an album that has a lot of instantly recognizable tunes on it, but the ones that are on here are all pretty solid, a nice diverse set of music, and UFO fans who give this one a chance, who are actually willing to venture outside of the Schenker era, generally are not disappointed, and I would recommend that anyone here do the same. This album featured the lineup of Phil Mogg on vocals, who of course is the only guy on every UFO album, Paul Chapman on guitar, Paul Raymond on keyboards and additional guitar, Andy Parker on drums, and Pete Way on bass. Sadly, 3 out of the 5 guys on this album have since passed away. Only Phil Mogg and Andy Parker are still alive. But on this album, they certainly give a performance for the ages. One criticism over the years has been that this album's always sounded a little flat compared to some of the earlier ones they did with Ron Nevison back when Michael Schenker was in the band. George Martin had actually invited bands to record at a new studio that he'd built, and UFO's unpreparedness apparently was not popular with George Martin, who was always the ever-efficient taskmaster, having worked with the Beatles back in the day. In 1980, he also produced an album for Cheap Trick called All Shook Up as well. Again, for bonus content on this album, we have 3 additional alternate version bonus tracks that come at the end of disc 1 after the end of the album proper. And then disc 2 is that remixed concert from 1980, which actually came out near the end of 1980. So by that point, Paul Raymond had been replaced with Neil Carter in the band. When Raymond passed away a few years ago and was touring with the band, Carter would come in and replace him then as well. And it's a great concert. I always love when these reissues give us vintage concerts from some of my favorite bands. UFO certainly falls into that echelon, and it's a great album, and you got this great bonus concert too. So I do have to say, if you are a UFO fan, or you're just a fan of classic hard rock in general, this reissue of No Place to Run absolutely belongs in your collection. There have been some reissues of other UFO albums so far, including the Michael Schenker era, as well as that big deluxe reissue of Strangers in the Night with all the different concerts. So I wonder if we're going to keep going through into the Chapman era and get albums like The Wild, the Willing, and the Innocent and Mechanics given this deluxe treatment as well. I can give this compilation a very high recommendation. No fan of the band or hard rock in general should be disappointed with what they get here. How about you? Are you a UFO fan? What's your favorite era of the band? Favorite era? Favorite song? Comment down below and let me know what you think. Also, remember to subscribe to this channel for more content. I'm always posting new videos. And make sure you give this one a like if you found it helpful. I'm Timothy Carlson. See you next time.